Pulling the Trigger is sponsored by Easy Vape North Shore, the industry's leading direct retailer of the highest quality personal vaporizers, e-cigs, vapes, and Canadian-made e-juice. Located at 987 Marine Drive in North Vancouver, or you can check them out online at www.easyvapecanada.com. You can also donate to our Patreon account. Patreon is a membership platform that makes it easy for artists and creators to connect with their fans and get paid. That's at www.patreon.com/MarkHughesComic. And please like our Facebook page at facebook.com/PTG604. Welcome to Pulling the Trigger. I am Mark Hughes, and this is my podcast. As always, edited, produced, promoted, and posted by Taylor Murray. Pulling the Trigger is brought to you by our friends at Jackal Events. Jackal Events is a Vancouver-based events company specializing in political events and comedy shows. And they have a comedy show coming up March 31st at the Rickshaw Theatre. Danny Polishuk live in Vancouver. The Rickshaw is at 254 East Hastings, and your tickets are available at www.picatic.com. That's www.picatic.com. And I'm actually going to be opening for Danny. So, what's going on? The episode will be released on February 1st. I will be in Toronto when the episode is released. I will be landing in Toronto at midnight, February 1st, so it's going to be an adventure. Apparently it snowed there. I'm kind of looking forward to it. I got lots of clothes for Toronto. Apparently it's kind of cold there right now, so I'm not going to be a pansy-ass West Coaster and freeze my balls off. I am doing legwork to probably move to Toronto later this year. I have talked about it in previous episodes. I've got to try something else. I've lived here most of my life. I got to just give it a shot. Even if I come running back in 6 months and cry uncle and say Toronto had its way with me, hopefully it kissed me while doing so. I got to try. Other than when I was in prison, I've lived here my whole life. And it's just, I don't know, for some reason Toronto and the East Coast seems like it has more to offer me. I've always felt more of like an East Coast guy when I go out there. People have even said to me throughout my life that I don't seem like I'm from Vancouver, even though I've lived here almost my entire life. I'm not into a lot of the same things that most other people are into. The West Coast vibe, the West Coast attitude, the West Coast mentality. Just not me. I've always been a bit more blue collar that way, rough around the edges. I don't present well. Things like that. Oh, speaking of West Coast, I was reading an article today about how yoga, a New York Times article about yoga is a form of white supremacy. And I think that's funny because I've been shitting on yoga ever since I got out of prison. When I first went to prison, yoga wasn't that popular. In fact, in Vancouver, I went to prison in 2000. I'd been in prison a few times before that, but basically, before 2000, if you did yoga in Vancouver, you were basically considered a bit weird. Like, it was kind of a fruity, flaky thing to do. I remember when the studios started popping up all over the place. It wasn't trendy yet. In fact, I stole from some of them. Don't tell anyone. But when I got out of prison in Lululemon, I'd never heard of Lululemon until I got out of the joint in 2007. When I started seeing this trendy new form of aerobics for attractive housewives and college students, I was like, no, I'm not saying I was like, oh, this is some form of cultural appropriation. I don't give a shit one way or the other. But I did think, because I knew about yoga from being in prison. I'd studied it a bit, as you do when you're in the joint. You look at all these different paths to spirituality, because in my case, I was trying to change my life, etc., etc. How do you do that? Spirituality is one way to do that. Yeah, I hate the word spirituality, but anyway, that's a different discussion. And yoga was something I explored. When I got out and I saw how yoga is practiced, it basically just seemed like aerobics. Which, hey man, go for it. If it makes you feel better, okay. But there's this kind of proselytizing evangelism that comes with it, especially in this city. You got a headache, yoga. You got a drug addiction, yoga. You got a sprained fucking back, yoga. You want to fix your car, do yoga. And they, if you don't like it, they get really upset. It's like dealing with, evangelical Christians when they're talking about sin, except they're talking about vibes and chakras and fucking energy and all this shit, right? And I've been in so many arguments with people about yoga, just because I don't care what they do, just don't try and push it on me. I'm not saying anything original there, but let's just put it this way. I have noticed that Vancouver is a very agnostic, secular city, but people can be just as fanatical about issues here as the most fundamentalist, rattlesnake-handling Christian from the deep south. It's just the terms are different, and sin is not missing the mark with a deity. It's more having a negative attitude, or even just questioning things is seen as negativity. I see it all as very superficial in some ways. It's a form of vanity, but whatever. Who am I to talk? I'm an asshole. Yeah, what else is going on in my life? Yeah, we're joined by the ferrets again today. Goku was just running by my feet. Chuckles is around here somewhere, and Puppy's sleeping. I gotta drop them off at the ferret sitters in a bit, who always have a hard time doing that when I have to drop them off. It's just, they have a great time. They're not like dogs. They don't miss me as much. They'll forget about me as soon as they see the new place to explore. But I always just get a bit worried about them because, I'm like a parent that way, except I don't want to beat my kids. Ha ha ha, joking. Ha ha. I guess that's about it. Yeah, that's what's going on for me. I just been plugging away at comedy as usual. Open mics. Going to be doing lots while I'm in Toronto. Hopefully find a couple neat guests. I have one possibly lined up, maybe two if I can get connected with them. I want to make sure that I capitalize on my trips and misadventures these days. So our next guest, the guest for this episode is a comedian that I like very much, named Byron Bertram. Byron has been doing comedy for a long time, and he's someone that I always find really funny. He's also a street performer and an actor. He is I've been on he has a podcast, and I've been on it, and Byron's a guy who travels the world. He's funny. He's just a regular dude. He doesn't have any opinions one way or the other, like strong opinions one way or the other. He's just trying to live his life. I mean, we all have strong opinions, but where him and I agree the most is just that we're just trying to live our lives and, do what we got to do. And, sometimes stuff is it's complicated, and it's not as simple as pick this or pick that side, black and white, right or left. I will say he has his own podcast called The Dry Shave Show. I've been a guest on that. He's been on Dirk Gently's and Riverdale, and he does stand-up, and you can find him at byronbertram.com. Let me make sure that's right. Hold on. Almost made it. Byron Bertram. Hold on. ByronBertram.com. That's ByronBertram.com. So without further ado, let's meet Byron.
Went on Facebook a lot and just read a bunch of bullshit. I'm addicted to Facebook. I think we all are to a degree. I just want to, read about who's been raping, who's talking about rape, how much rape there is in comedy. Just seems to be, rape is the new comedy.
Yeah, I haven't talked about or read about rape this much since I actually got raped myself. In fact, we've talked about it more since that happened. And I haven't heard any funny jokes come out of what's been talked about. But when I got raped, tons of funny jokes came out of it. I was laughing about it 5 minutes later.
Yeah.
So
you built a career from it.
Well, yeah, right? Yeah. Fuck, if they don't laugh, I got raped for no reason.
Yeah, exactly.
So
I got some Me Too shit in the tank though, and I tried it I think there's some mileage from there. Anyway.
Nice. This is welcome to Pulling the Trigger. I am Mark Hughes, as you know, and today we are joined by one of my favorite people in Vancouver stand-up comedy, Byron Bertram.
Hello, listeners.
Yeah. Byron is a guy I've met I've been doing comedy a few years now, and he's been around pretty much the whole time, and I've liked what he's done ever since the first time I saw him, and he's a very interesting guy in and outside of comedy, so I wanted to have him on this show. So I guess we'll just start as fucking dry as a popcorn fart, but whatever. Who are you and what do you do?
My name's Byron. I'm a stand-up comedian. I'm an actor and also a street performer. I say that kind of third hand now because I've been doing that for a long time, and I'm trying to sort of get one foot out of the door of street performing. I've been doing that since I was 16 years old.
Does that predate comedy?
Well, predates comedy. I learned how to juggle in a theater program, and I saw people doing shows in Vancouver, like juggling shows, and it's such a weird, small subculture of arts and entertainment where it's like, you ever see somebody who has like hundreds of people and they're riding a unicycle, and then people go, oh yeah, and I'm like, yeah, I do that kind of thing. But it's so hard to tell people what it is.
Right.
Like,
right,
not just like, it was when you tell people you street perform, they're like, oh, you play guitar in front of a liquor store for spare cigarette butts. You're like, yeah, that's right. That's exactly what I do.
Well, I don't smoke, but next time I see someone, I'm going to make sure I find a button.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so how did you get into street performing and then acting and then comedy or whatever trajectory or direction it took?
I guess, yeah, my parents, they're still to this day, they're both alive and artist types. My mom's a painter. My father's a musician, and so I grew up, and my grandfather was quite a well-known, famous painter in Western Canada, and I came from like artist sort of DNA, okay. And I was really exposed to a lot of music, and just my dad was always a funny guy. My parents are both very funny, eccentric people, and they were just came from a real wacky childhood.
Are they artists themselves?
Yeah, they are. Yeah, my dad's still plays music, and my mom's a painter and that. But my dad got a regular job driving bus to, make ends meet, sort of when I was about 10, 11.
You mean as an artist or performer, he wasn't able to make a living off of it?
I know. Can you fucking believe it?
He didn't have a gold record right away?
Oh, actually, he did have a gold record.
Oh, really?
He played with the Powder Blues.
Oh, for real?
Yeah. And so, but, Canadian showbiz. So, he made tens of dollars. Right? So, yeah, only in Canada will you have a gold record and then have to drive a bus.
Yeah.
Right?
Fuck. And then, so it's just in your blood. And
yeah, it's in my blood.
But you're not a musician.
I played saxophone for a number of years, from like 10 to 18. And then I kind of just got off it, and then I got onto the juggling. I learned how to juggle in this theater program called Atlantis. It was the Bentall Towers. Mm-hmm. So it was like a rich philanthropist sort of program where it was like kids at risk that went from the ages of, I guess, 10 to 18, actually, high school or, elementary to high school. It was a summer school for the performing arts. Mm. And they taught like music, acting, singing, masks and movement, video, all this stuff. And one of the courses was called street theater, where they taught like juggling, unicycling, stilt walking, stuff like that. And I just got super addicted to juggling. And I was like, man, I saw people doing street performing at Grand Island, English Bay. And I was like, this is so amazing. Just getting a crowd and just doing a show, and I fell in love with that. So yeah, the next year I started doing street performing, and man, I sucked at it for a long time, but I got better at it and just kept persevering, and managed to save money and actually never had a real job in my life because of street performing.
You can make that much money doing it?
Yeah, I've traveled to like 20 different countries doing street performing, and by doing street performing, I piggybacked. I also always wanted to do stand-up comedy as like a teenager. I saw like Caroline's Comedy was a big thing, even at the Improv growing up. Just comics on late night TV. And my downstairs neighbor was an amateur comedian. He was really, really bad, but he was, he got me excited about comedy. I was always into Saturday Night Live and stuff like that. And I was just like, man, I want to do comedy and high school acting and stuff like that. I was always the class clown as well. Being a fat white kid in all Chinese Asian school, pretty much, just getting teased.
Which high school was it?
Sir Charles Tupper.
Yeah.
So it was, I would just, I deal with, I guess, with kids teasing me just by being a class clown, doing impressions of the teachers and shit like that. And right. I noticed just the euphoria of like, wow, oh my God, I'm getting just laughs in class by just saying stupid shit or doing impressions. And then I became like that impression guy. And so yeah, I know. And it was funny in high school. People would always be like, "You should have been a comedian." I'm like, "Yeah, I should have." It's too late, man. Yeah, I'm 15. I already decided to just play video games and fucking masturbate. Yeah.
And now that you're a comedian, you play video games and masturbate.
Exactly, yeah. Goes full circle.
Yeah. Do you remember your first stand-up gig?
Yeah, it's weird. I did my first stand-up gig maybe 20 years ago, but then I just so I say I've done it for 15 years. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I did do it longer, but I would just sort of flirted with it a little bit.
Go out once every couple months.
Exactly, yeah. That, so I don't really count that. Yes, actually, Kevin Fox was hosting. It was at Yuck Yucks. It was Plaza Nations. And I remember just talking about being 19 and being a virgin and stuff like that. And actually did okay. And then at the end, I kind of chickened out and did a little juggling routine. And I remember right after Kevin's like, hey, that was pretty funny. You don't need the juggling shit. And then I was just like, yeah, okay. And then the next spot, I was actually feeling all high and mighty about myself. And then I did a spot at the Urban Well and it bombed. And I was like, oh, shit.
It seems that's a common story, actually. The first time, a lot of people do well. Yeah. And then the second time, they bomb. Mm-hmm. And I remember someone told me, I took one of those classes, and I know that's a controversial topic, but the teacher at least did say your first one will be okay because you're going to invite all your friends, and then your second one won't be. And that you have to just get past that. And because that's going to be, the not doing well will probably be more often than the doing well at first.
Right. Yeah. But, I took a comedy class. I mean, I don't begrudge people for doing it. Mm-hmm. At all. I mean, if it gets you going, great.
That's what it did for me. It gave me, just showing up at an open mic or an amateur night, I never would have done it. I didn't have the balls to do it.
Right.
So the class prepared me, and I paid $200.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to chicken out on the last night. I paid money to do this, right? So,
exactly.
And here I am.
So you paid money, and then and every week it was like you had, at least if we're thinking of the same course that I did, good chance it is. Every week it's like, okay, I got to write 5 new jokes.
Very
and then,
similar,
it's just set up, punch, basic comedy, rudimentary, but at least it gets your brain going, and it also gives you accountability and a deadline to be like, shit, I gotta do my homework for next week.
Yep.
So you're basically paying to be, you got to do this, and you got a class around you of people that are, and it's fun. It's a fun vibe, and you meet a bunch of people that don't have an ego at that point because they're just, hey, I always want to do comedy, and everybody's nice. Then once they start getting into comedy and they're in it for a while, then you notice they turn into just complete, unbearable, fucking horrible people. A lot of them.
Yeah.
And you're like, hey, man, we took that class together. You're all like, nice, you had a regular job, and you thought, oh, comedy's fun. Now you've been doing this for 6 months, and you're just an unbearable, fucking, unapproachable piece of shit. What happened to you? That's what happened because you got a few laughs a couple times a week? Oh, God damn it.
So you started off doing comedy. And then, didn't dig in. And then a couple years later, you went. Okay,
I was just kind of flirting with it.
Yeah.
But I was, mainly just all preoccupied with street performing, and I was traveling a lot doing street performing, going to Australia and the UK and throughout Canada a lot and in the States a bit. But I didn't really try. So I was just traveling a lot, and then just mainly street performing, and I just do the occasional mic here and there, but not. I think once it was sort of 2002-ish, that's when I really kind of was like, all right, you know what? I'm going to really just go for it a lot more and try to go out there at least a couple times a week at least kind of thing, and try to get my feet wet more and more. But it was always sort of a mutual fund sort of. So street performing was first, and then that, and then I started, maybe over 10 years ago, that's when I kind of got an acting agent in that. So it was just kind of my life was like these mutual funds, sort of all right, is this growing here? Is this going down? Is this staying stagnant?
Yeah.
But, yeah, my life has sort of been about entertainment mutual funds almost.
Right. You're doing some form of live performance.
Exactly.
Or maybe not live because it's recorded.
Or voiceover. Something creative. And
performing,
Yeah, performing arts related.
Of the 3, what's your favorite?
Oh, stand-up, for sure.
Everyone says that.
For sure. And, I mean, acting, I love acting, but it's so out of your hands. So I've had, some good success recently by booking a few things in a row, but now I've had nothing for months. And you're just kind of like, oh, okay, well, it's like playing this lottery ticket a lot of times.
You had a big role recently, too, didn't you?
I had this it's coming out. It's a movie called Game Over Man. I play a henchman.
With lines and stuff?
I got a couple lines, but I'm basically you just see me around holding a gun, looking sort of intense, and then I finally get killed at the end. I'm just hanging around. So you just see me there's Byron. Oh, there's Byron. There's Byron. There's Byron. Oh, there's Byron. Oh, there he is again. There,
But I guess you will be seen.
I'll be
by
seen,
people.
hopefully.
Yeah.
Unless they edit out every scene I'm in, which would be hard to do, hopefully.
Right.
So that's coming out on April 20th. It's coming out 4/20. Yeah. It's like a stoner dude comedy, actually.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Is it on Netflix or is it?
It'll be on Netflix.
Okay.
Yeah,
it's not a theater.
No, unfortunately, but
which doesn't mean anything anymore.
Doesn't mean anything anymore.
Netflix isn't like a. You see, there's a movie on Netflix right now called The Wheelman.
Yeah.
One of the better movies I've ever seen.
Really?
Seriously, and it didn't hit the theaters. I'm amazed. It's fucking an amazing show. Yeah. Check it out. Yeah. It's really good.
Netflix it's the bomb.
Yeah. Because I used to think like, oh, right to Netflix, give me a break. That's just like straight to DVD in the 21st century.
Yeah, it's just Steven Seagal shit.
Nope, there are really good movies that just go right to Netflix because Netflix has all this money. I don't know how they have all this money. I'm only paying $12 a month.
You know how?
No.
Because, let's just say, we're paying like $12 a month. Mm-hmm. So let's just say 12, and they say they have 100 million subscribers. When you think about that, that makes sense.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so if you go, so if you go like, and probably more now, but the last time I checked, let's just say it's $10 times 100 million. That's
a lot.
That's a lot of money.
Okay, yeah.
So there's billions of dollars, and they're like, holy shit.
Yeah, okay.
So if they're making $1 billion a month, that's $12 billion a year.
Yeah. Okay.
That seems pretty. Oh my god. Then they could. That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
What I don't know about Netflix is how they like track it to go. Okay, this is making us more money than that because if they're all just on the platform, like how much money we're going to pay for house.
Yeah, because we paid a flat rate from the get go. It's not like you're downloading each one and you have to pay $5 each time or anything like that.
So you can just watch whatever you want if you pay for the streaming service. So.
Maybe they just throw a whole bunch of money at everything and whatever it's like throwing it at the wall and whatever sticks. It's like if we pay for 10 different movies or shows, and even if only 3 of them were popular, that 3 keeps people watching it and paying that monthly fee.
Right. I guess that makes sense.
Did you watch The Punisher?
No, I haven't seen that yet.
One of the best shows I've ever seen.
Wow.
Yeah, couldn't believe it.
See, I mean, the thing, Netflix is just fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Like, see, I'm still on Stranger Things, and then, got to watch Crown again, and I watch it with my girlfriend, and it's like, shit, so then it's like, all right, I got to hold off, like, if we're watching, I'm like, god damn it, she fell asleep, or I fell asleep. All right, we got to wait till next time.
Yeah.
God damn it. Fucking girlfriends, they get in the way of just streaming quick.
Yeah. I wish there was a form we could
Don't watch it without me.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to report one just so that I can fucking watch TV by myself. No.
But then you want to cheat on her by like watching it, and then you got to watch it again.
Right. Then you gotta pretend you're shocked at it and stuff like, oh
my god, I can't believe that character died.
Yeah.
Like you knew that character.
Yeah. So how long after you started doing comedy? Did you? I mean, success is so relative with comedy, but
it really is, isn't it?
How long after you started doing comedy did you start getting successful as far as you were concerned? Objectively speaking, subjectively.
I guess, like, what is the tangible evidence of success?
Getting paid. That's a good one.
Started getting paid. Okay, well, I guess 2005, 4, 5, 6, sort of, maybe 2006, you started getting paid, but it's so vague now. There wasn't, like, sort of the standout moment for me where it was just like, yes, I got my first paid gig. I got all these memories kind of just meld in together. And also I was doing street performance, so I was also making good money. So I guess it was just kind of all this collage of memories of performing. And then I'm like, oh yeah, cool. Got $20 here, got $50 here, got $100 there. Then I started to ask to host an open mic. I ran a room, like a lot of newer comics did. I ran a couple of rooms, and
you started Keno too, didn't you?
I started Keno with Steve. Actually, I discovered the place. Well, me and my friend said, you know what, you should run a room. You should run. Keno would be a great place. And I knew Steve Allen from. I met him when I was like 16 at some improv class, and then he. I sort of ran into him years later, just on the street here and there. And he started watching. Yeah, it was a Granville Island. He'd see me street perform, and then he had come to some open mics. And then I forget how we even made the connection. It was we were like, hey, would it be cool? Do you want to run a room together? And he's like, yeah, sure. And then we walked into Keno together, and we started running that room. And then, like, within a few weeks, I was like, I'm going to travel. And then I started running Jupiter. as well. So I'm like, you know,
Which
I
is
can't.
downtown.
Yeah, I'm like, all right, I can't run 2 rooms. You want to just take it over? We don't need 2 people for this. And then it was like, yeah, sure. And then so he just sort of took it over, and then a few years later he fucking bought the place.
Yeah. Yeah, for the listeners who don't know what we're talking about, Kino is the longest running comedy show in Vancouver. It's at near 19th and Cambie, and it's run by a guy named Steve Allen, who's kind of a fixture in stand-up comedy.
Yeah, he's the man. He's
a really nice guy, and he's really helpful and supportive. But he doesn't do comedy. He's one of the few. I think he's the only person I know, other than maybe a club manager, who runs a comedy show that doesn't do comedy.
Exactly, yeah. He did do comedy a bit, years and years and years ago.
I think, by his own admission, he says he wasn't cut out for it.
Right,
yeah.
Right. I mean, it's a tough grind, man.
Yeah, there's a perfect segue. Okay.
Yeah.
What do you find hardest about doing comedy?
Standing out. Well, getting success in a large level. I guess if the big success, a tangible one, will be when I got my first, let's say, headline comedy club weekend, which would be 2009.
So it took quite a while.
It took a long time for me, but it would have taken shorter if I worked harder at it and didn't get diversified or.
Because you're focusing on a few different
things. Yeah, I was
things.
focused. So I kind of, was sort of half-dicking it a little bit. And I was like always decent, but I always do pretty well, I would say. But a lot of times my jokes were a little bit more just sort of low-hanging fruit, maybe, or just not new concepts. And I would just get by on stage for the charisma and funny voices as to really how insightful and in-depth this my subject matter was. So once I really started, just even recently, I feel like I keep growing all the time when it comes to that. But 2009, that was the big sort of stand-up moment.
Yeah, because for the
at
listeners,
headline at Laugh Lines Comedy Club.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Neat. Yeah. As I told you, this isn't really a comedy podcast. It's just regular people listening.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? So I'm sort of successful already that way. It's not just a bunch of comics listening to it.
Yeah.
So a lot of people. One of the reasons I wanted to start this podcast is because when I listen to comedy podcasts, I hear comedians talking to each other, and the average person wouldn't know what they're talking about.
Yeah, they're talking about inside terminology.
Yeah, and this guy at the nest in the cave, and it's like, what the fuck is that, man? I'm a comedian, I don't even know what they're talking about, right?
Yeah.
But, so, for our listeners, a headlining spot is the guy who closes out the show at a club. And that's, it takes, as Byron was saying, that takes a few years to get there. And, because a lot of people think, like my friends are like, why aren't you headlining yet?
Yeah,
and
exactly,
it's
yeah.
like, are you, the other one. So, you making a living at this yet? How much? And it's like, no, I barely even get paid to do this. And they're shocked that I do it 5 to 10 times a week and maybe get paid once a month.
Yeah, yeah.
And so, was that sort of your trajectory too? Like,
completely. Yeah.
And then it goes up to twice a month you get paid. And
I wasn't making shit 5 years in.
Right.
Oh, man.
Oh, well.
And then it's just building connections. Do you want to close this show? Do you want to open this show? Do you want to... also, okay, you want to do a guest spot on the weekend, you do the amateur night, then you want to do a guest spot on the weekend, then this is sort of the traditional path for the listeners of a comedy club. It's like, all right, you beg to do the pro-am night, you get on the pro-am night,
and this is not paid still.
No, this isn't paid, and then you get on again, you get on again and again and again, then you get offered maybe a guest spot on a weekend, you still don't get paid, then you finally get paid when it's like, do you want to maybe half middle, and then you get paid not much money. Then it's like, do you want a full middle, and they make a bit more money. Then it's like, hey, do you want to host? Okay, cool. And then eventually it's like, all right, do you want to maybe co-headline? All right, sure. And then finally it's like, all right, you could headline the whole week. It's like, all right, now.
And the headlining weekend pays okay. It's
and like, but even still, like, I get a headline every weekend of the year and still be making okay money. That's being generous. Like, if I just did stand up, I'd be struggling as a working.
Yeah, that was actually answered the question.
Yeah.
Do you make a living as it is on stand up?
I make a good chunk of my living of stand up, but if I just did stand up solely, I'd be scrounging a bit for sure.
We're in an apartment in Vancouver's West End right now. I take it you need more than just stand up to pay the rent.
Yeah. So between stand up, acting, and street performing, I do okay.
Is it a grind still?
It is still a grind.
Like some months you're like, fuck, it's going to be tight this month, kind of thing.
Well, I guess I'm in a position, with street performing, so I've saved a lot over the years doing street performing. So then I could kind of, some months are way more generous, and then with comedy, and then all of a sudden I get some residual stuff on like Sirius XM, and then all of a sudden, I booked an acting thing, and then I get a bit of acting residuals, and then I do a street show, and then so I always seem to have some income coming in from a few different aspects, but some months are just fantastic, and some months are just shit. So I definitely dip into my savings, and I'm doing pretty good for a Canadian entertainer. I would say I'm doing quite well compared. I mean, it's all relative.
One of the things I can say that's a success just from knowing comedians as well as I do is you live in a pretty nice apartment in a nice part of town without a roommate.
Yeah.
Most comics I know have to have roommates and shit like
that.
Yeah. It's like just because that's they don't make enough money.
Yeah.
Most comics I know who don't have it, because you also don't have a job.
No.
Right? So
a so-called day to day.
And so
working for the man.
That's pretty good. From looking at it, I don't know. Maybe it sucks. Maybe you would like the security of a regular job. I don't know.
Not at all. I wouldn't trade it for anything.
There you go.
You know what? I can say I am a success as far as I've made it. I'm making a living as an entertainer and living in one of the most desirable cities in the world in a nice neighborhood in that city. I could definitely say I've traveled to 20 countries and have a beautiful girlfriend and loving family. No,
yeah, his girlfriend's hot. Everybody, she's really hot, and she's Japanese, and her jokes are really dirty. It's hilarious.
Yeah, and she's doing now. My girlfriend, she's kicking ass. She's doing amazing.
Fucking foreigners coming in and taking our jobs.
But she is like a typical foreigner stealing our comedy.
But she's a typical Japanese person. She came in, figured it out, and now is doing it better than us.
Just boom, super efficient.
Yeah. But the thing is, to the listeners, she's really nice, so you can't be mad at her too much. It's not like she's a stuck-up bitch. It's like, no, she's humble and like, it's like, fucking.
Oh yeah, no, people. I'm sure there's people that want to be envious and hate on her, but she just Tai Chi's. How can you?
Yeah, no, she's
Teflon.
Yeah, no, she's cool. Maybe we'll talk. We'll have her on the show some other day, but that'll be the more efficient, better show.
Yeah, the more efficient, better show. You'll cut the fat out right away.
You can bring the tea and shit.
Yeah. The amount of tea I fucking made her over the years. Oh man, a lot of tea.
You should be getting residuals.
Yeah.
Do you like Vancouver? You're born and raised here, right?
I have a very love-hate relationship with this city.
Let's hear it.
It's beautiful. I love Vancouver's it's like a supermodel that won't stop crying. I say my stand-up. Some of the time she's beautiful. The rest of the time she's just an emotional basket case. It drags you into a never-ending seasonal depression. And she's way too expensive to be in. And I'm sick of fucking her. I know what you think. How do you fuck an entire city? Just ask the Canucks. They do it to us every year.
Boom. Hey-o.
But I find people are it's very beautiful, this city.
Mm-hmm.
But I find it's soulless in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
I find there's not much pride in the city in a way. Everybody is like a transplant from somewhere. And I find it's very cliquey. Like a lot of people always complain, you can't meet anybody here. You can't date anybody here. Like everybody's living above their means. Everybody's in debt. People get offended very easily. Everybody wants to be perceived as this good person. But there's a lot of shallowness and a lot of navel gazing and a lot of just like, I'm a good person. What do you do for a living? I'm not racist. Oh, cool. Is that's your job, hey? Yeah.
Is it union? Fuck.
Yeah. It's like, It's like, okay, great. Congratulations. You want a fucking participation badge for not fucking posting a yoga meme? So it drives me nuts in that way. And I find a lot of bars and a lot of clubs and a lot of cool old institutions just get sanitized and Donnelly pub douchified and just turned into this just everything looks nice exterior without any fucking soul vibe to it. But having said that, it's great. It's beautiful. There's a lot of talent here. Film and television industries
art,
massive
and
here.
any kind of art. There's good representatives of it.
Absolutely,
painting, you name it, musicians.
There's a lot of talent. There's a lot to be, but I do feel like obviously the cost of living, the overseas real estate, just buying everything up. Like it's hard not to get a bit just resentful and pissed off, and people could perceived racist very easily by just what's going on in the city and bike lanes everywhere, and there's a lot of horse shit.
I remember a number of years ago when people started noticing that the foreign investment, they're basically money laundering here,
yeah.
Right? And anyone mentioned anything about it, racist.
Oh yeah.
Now
Now it's a bit more like
people
obvious.
people are a bit more willing to like go, hey, what's going on? Like, you notice there's a lot of investment from China.
Yeah.
Right?
Now, before it'd be racist, now it's like, well, yeah, but let's just not. Well, okay, but now it's like, yeah, yes, there is.
Yeah, it's too blatant to
ignore now.
Yeah.
Even though we really, 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 really want to ignore it because we really want to be not seen as even the most hint of possibly racist.
Yeah. And the funny thing is saying something about a country isn't racist.
Well, I don't understand. It's just like, look, there's just a disproportionate amount of people from this part of the world buying property because, and I'm not even blaming the Chinese. I'm blaming like the government. They see a good scam. It's just like they see like, hey, why wouldn't they? You got the money. Here's a great scam. I can't blame the Chinese.
My dad was telling me because he's smart about shit like this. He goes, the Chinese are a lot of them are gamblers.
Yeah.
Right? So that's why they like casinos and shit like that, right? And Macau, just off of Hong Kong, is a casino town.
Huge
right?
casino town, yes.
Chinese like gambling, right? And Vancouver's a casino. That's all it is. It's one big real estate casino. And I asked him, I said, do you pay attention to this real estate shit? He goes, oh yeah, of course I do. I said, do you think where's it going? He goes, oh, it'll burst. He goes, the funny thing about the way Chinese do investing generally, some people are going to accuse me of race. I don't give a fuck though. This is like how anyone who does business, you have to know there's cultural differences for each culture you do business.
This whole blend, everybody's the same and everybody's just everybody's great. It's like it's just surfacey bullshit.
If you do business with Jewish people, you have to know they have customs around doing business. If you do business with Japanese, you have to know they have customs around doing it, and that there's nothing wrong with that. But what he says is Chinese can often get spooked really easily by things, and then just all of a sudden, okay, I'm pulling out all my money,
right?
And it can be over something that doesn't make sense or anything because they just saw it as a big casino, so
right?
I'll play another game now,
right? They'll leave that table and they'll go to a different table,
go to the slot machines,
because the feng shui's off
or whatever, shit like that, right? And so my dad again, who knows more about this than I do, said it will. He said it won't burst and it'll have a meltdown like Detroit or anything like that. But houses and condos will go down so much that people will literally lose money, and because if you bought a condo for $500,000, then all of a sudden the market changes drastically, and you got a mortgage for that $500,000.
Yeah,
$500,000 is low. Actually, I'm just using an easier number. Now your house will be worth $200,000 or $350,000. You still owe that $500,000.
You still owe that money.
Yeah, and that'll fuck the economy up.
Right.
Because it'll be everyone will owe a bunch of money that they don't have.
Yeah, and they can't sell their house.
That's what happened in the States.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so it'll be a bunch of money that's owed that can't be paid because it doesn't exist.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Does he have any predictions of when this is going to happen?
No, because it's hard to say.
It's
going. It's skyrocketing.
What does your dad have to say about Bitcoin?
Good question.
Yeah,
I should ask him about that because he would know. He's a financial guy, so it's funny because he doesn't know anything about the internet. He doesn't even know how to use Facebook. I have to show him how to all of it. Right?
Oh wow.
Yeah, but he knows about finance, but
the stock market and shit like that.
All that kind of stuff. I should ask him.
The Nasdaq.
Yeah, my dad's actually he's a business. He went to Trinity University in Dublin. He's got an accounting.
Oh wow.
Chartered accountant. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. He knows all about that stuff, but.
What I'm trying to say, I want to get rich.
Yeah, me too. So I agree. And apparently, this Bitcoin is something that we shit the bed on. I think.
I invested in 10 days and I've made a good chunk
already. What's the buy-in?
Just anything.
Really?
You don't have to buy a whole Bitcoin.
Right.
You can just buy, just a little bit. Throw $100 down, whatever.
Right. And you've already.
And there's also different types of cryptocurrency you could buy, like Ethereum, Litecoin.
I think is one.
Ethereum, Litecoin. Yeah. There's all these other smaller ones.
Similar.
Those are the top three.
Right.
Bitcoin being the monster, and then Ethereum, and then Litecoin, and then there's a bunch of other. But you could just even just throw $100 down, $50. I know somebody who just bought something for $50, and they're like, "Oh, hey, it went up $10 today, went down $4."
Yeah, because it's going up and down a lot.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
So and then you may just get your feet wet.
Yeah.
But no, I advise anybody just you don't have to have $20,000 to buy a whole Bitcoin.
Right.
Buy a little bit. It's better late than ever.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's still I'm kicking myself as everybody is.
I first heard about it a few years ago, and a guy told me, "Oh, you got to get in on it." And then
likewise.
Then 6 months later, it crashed, and it was almost like people were like, "Oh, what a stupid idea." That was like Laserdisc, right?
Right.
And then about recently,
it's
back again. Yeah.
Back
no,
again,
literally, like 6 months after the guy told me you should buy it, it pretty well almost went non-existent, and people were. It was a bad investment, and it was stupid, and all this kind of stuff. But I guess it didn't totally die.
No, it just went down a lot.
Yeah.
But now it's, it's massive.
From the sounds of it, based on what I know about stuff, which isn't much, but it sounds like people want this cryptocurrency because they don't want money in banks. They don't trust that kind of system. So because this is it's similar to the Federal Reserve in that, like, my $20 bill is only worth $20 because the government says it is.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes.
Cryptocurrency is worth $20 because the internet or whatever it is that backs, but there is no actual money there, and it sounds like they don't. From the sounds of it, whoever it is that raised the price of it by investing in it realized that they don't want their money with banks and government anymore.
Yeah,
this isn't controlled by the banks or government.
It's not controlled. No, it's just this.
It's like an underground thing.
It's an underground thing almost. It's the internet's money, and it's whatever. And the price of it's basically just on perceived value of everybody else investing and having faith in it. And then the more people just throw into it, the more it
like stocks.
It's stocks. It's stocks. So. I could just, but it's so funny because if I want to buy something with it now, it'll be like, cool, I'm going to buy a pack of gum for 77 cents. Oh, no, I just bought it for $2.50. Shit, no, I bought it for 15 cents. Oh, within that, like even just taking out my card and trying to buy a pack of gum.
Can you use it as currency yet?
A lot of places you can.
Oh, wow.
In Japan and Germany. But it's not. No, it's not.
It's probably not stable enough to use as currency yet.
I wouldn't say no. But it's weird because I've seen a documentary where in Germany and in Japan, they're like people buying drinks with Bitcoin, people doing this with Bitcoin, and you could buy real estate with it. You could buy big purchase stuff with it. You could buy a lot of stuff online with it, and also you could go to an ATM and take money out. Oh, like a Bitcoin ATM,
right. Wow.
Which there's not many of, but I do think it'll just keep growing, and there will be more and more of like we take Bitcoin here, kind of like. Credit cards happened, and then debit and stuff like that. But yeah, it is a bit, I think, too volatile to be.
Well, because like you said, if it goes up and down that much, if you went to pay for a meal, they could lose money on even accepting it.
Right? That moment, or it's like just a bipolar fucking 19-year-old girl who's drunk. It's like, I love you, I hate you. What the 16 grand, 14 grand, 12 grand. I'm rich.
Speaking of which, you have bipolar, don't you?
No, my mom does.
You have OCD, right?
Yeah, my mom's manic depressive, and she was in and out of the psych ward growing up.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, that's fun.
How was that?
It was stressful. There's a lot of humorous, humor and tragedy and stuff. But she's been stable for many, many years, and on a good dose of medication. And I have obsessive compulsive disorder.
Like for real though, not just like I had to check the stove. I'm fucking OCD. Like you really have it, right?
No, you know what? I wouldn't say I have it to the major degree, and I'm definitely more obsessive than compulsive. I think I just let worries just that the voice in my head, not schizophrenic voice, but just
that inner self.
Your inner self, just being like just fixating on something and just not going away. So I had that since I was probably a kid, but when I was a teenager, that's when it really just hit the ground running. And I've been on Prozac since I was like 17.
Does it help?
It does. It does help. It's not everything. It is kind of putting a Band-Aid over a bullet wound in a way. But I don't know. The alternative is not going on it. I've seen some psychologists or some psychiatrists, and it's always. But I don't know. I don't have the perfect solution. It's definitely better than the alt. I'm manageable, and I'm doing all right. But I'll have my bouts of anxiety and depression and obsessive behavior for sure.
I think comedy, sometimes people go, "Oh, comedy's so therapeutic," and I'm like, I don't know, man. Because I have my own mental health stuff. I have PTSD, and I'm like, comedy doesn't really help it sometimes. Like it takes the edge off when I get the big laughs on stage. Yeah. But the rest of it can kind of actually aggravate my mental health. Like sometimes I have to honestly say comedy's not good for me, right? Like it is what it is. I'm not complaining. I'm going to keep doing it. But
yeah.
Do you find that though?
I do feel like it's weird because it is therapeutic, but I wouldn't say it's therapy.
No.
It's like if I'm feeling down and I do a set and I kill, of course my dopamine levels are going to be high and I feel the sense of validation. And I feel like that was great. Tried this new bit, man, that felt great. But that is kind of a short-lived high.
It's the Band-Aid on the bullet wound.
Yeah, and then also besides just the actual act, and then let's just say you have a real shit set, and or just and then you just feel like, what am I doing in my life? That was fucking gross. And then also just hanging around comedy, is an insecure, weird vibe in general. Like, if it was just what you see on TV, like, coming out, you know, a lot of times I'll be like, oh man, you know, it's great. I love comedy. I'll see some performer I look up to, and I'll be like, you know, his Netflix special, HBO special, and then he's full of, you know, theater, and then, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the stage, so-and-so, and, you know, and then just does like an hour and a half of material and a standing ovation. You're like, man, that's why I love comedy, and I'm so glad I'm going to do it tonight. And then I go to a cafe, and there's 8 people, and 6 of them are comics, and nobody's laughing at anything. I'm like, oh, God. That nothing is a bigger crash to fucking earth.
It's like they're polar opposite.
Yeah.
Like they exist with it. Like it's a relationship they have with each other. The highest of highs and the lowest of lows, right?
Yeah.
It's bipolar comedy.
Completely.
Yeah.
And then, you know, and then it's hard not to compare yourself to others and be like, man, that person's doing way better than me and hasn't done it as long as me. And, you know, why this isn't fair, you know? So it's easy to get into that train of thought as well and start comparing yourself to others and getting jealous and envious of others and whatever breaks they get. And then sort of subconsciously even just being like, you know what, I hope this person fails because it'll make me feel better.
Yep.
And it's a terrible, terrible feeling. And just, it's not a good feeling. Jealousy and resentment and then, yeah, you feel that, and you're not the only one who feels that. You feel this energy with a lot of disproportionate amount of insecure people that for some reason are attracted to it, and they all want validation from strangers even though they hate people. It's very bizarre, and you feel this, and you just want to get out of there. You just want to do your set and not hang around a lot of times, unless it's, you know, there's people that you have a great camaraderie with, which happens a lot too. But generally it can be especially the open mic thing. When you're starting comedy, it's fucking brutal. You're going to these open mics and you're waiting hours to do a few minutes for a bunch of comics who aren't listening to you or paying attention or even care about your set because they're thinking about doing their own set. And it's just, it's a really, I feel bad for any new comic, you know, which I did do too, but to get out of that open mic shit and actually get some good stage time and some decent book mics or clubs, it's a tough, and it's a tough grind, and it could make a lot of people with mental health issues that much more depressed. But if you got to have a thick skin, despite having
and that's not just the bombing or the people going boo thick skin.
No,
that's what everyone, when I talk to civilians.
They just think
it's like no. That's the smallest part.
That's the smallest part.
Someone throwing a glass at me is no big fucking deal at all. I could care less about that.
Yeah.
That's a reaction. I can laugh at that later. I can even use that if I recorded it for a fucking blooper reel or something. Go, look what happened the other night, right? It's the other 90%.
Exactly.
That's the part that you really need to be able to survive.
It's the toxic backstabbing and just like fake sincerity and just waiting like around.
The sort of distorted view that it seems like it's never going anywhere too.
Yes.
Like, which isn't accurate, but it sort of isn't entirely inaccurate either. It's like I go up 5 to 10 times a week, and it doesn't always seem like I'm any further ahead than when I did my first open mic, right? It's like, where the fuck is this going, and why am I doing this? And then I that's the question I always ask. Where is it going? Why am I doing this? What is the benefit of it? And
not knowing yourself, like, what am I doing?
Yeah, and the laughs, and that's great and all that, but it's like,
is it going anywhere?
Yeah, like,
what's the next step? Am I going to make money? Am I going to perform at bigger venues? Am I going to get some sort of tangible, feeling of success?
Right, and then I always have to wonder, and this is probably a good thing to bring up, like, what is success? I asked you earlier.
I know.
I don't know what it is.
Because you could ask people that are even, like, people have been on late night TV shows, like, you made it, you've been on Conan O'Brien, you've been on Jimmy Kimmel, and then you see them next week, and they're just kind of like, well, whatever. You're like, wow, it's not like it used to be either, where if you're on TV, you are successful. Like before, if there's 3 networks and everybody'd watch them, and if you're on Johnny Carson and you did well and he invited you over to the couch, you'd be like, great, career made.
Done.
But it's not 1985. This is 2017. It'd be like, oh yeah, I saw you on TV. Yeah, whatever.
What's your name again?
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah. And I was talking to a guy the other day, and he said he was on JF Just for Laughs, the biggest comedy festival in the world. And he thought, okay, here we go. got a spot on the biggest comedy festival in the world. Then he did it, and then nothing happened after.
Yeah.
No opportunities that he thought were coming came, and it was just back to what he was doing the week before he was.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, still fucking, emceeing a chuckle fucks.
Right, exactly. And
it's disheartening.
Yeah, that's the thing is, it probably anyone who's listening, it might think it sounds like whining, but and I don't care if it does or not, because I need to get it out sometimes. I defy
it's
anyone.
therapeutic.
Yeah, I do. I feel so much better now. I defy, and people say to me all the time, that must be so hard. It's like, yeah, it is, but not for the reasons you think.
Yeah.
It's what you think is hard actually isn't that hard for me, right?
Right.
And not you.
Yeah. It's the average listener
It's
person.
the other shit, and but I can't imagine not doing it now.
Yeah.
I'm almost 5 years in. I can't imagine going, oh, that was fun. And then going to university or I can't see it. Yeah. Even though this is statistically, this might not ever even amount to anything, but I just can't see stopping.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't imagine not doing comedy now.
Well, you got to get to a point where you do it on your terms as well.
Right.
So you can't pick, and you really got to be as independent as you can, where either, creating your brand, creating your audience, creating your niche, creating your voice, and trying to create some sort of demand for yourself without having to rely on so-and-so bookers to give you approval to be able to perform there for this amount of dollars. You really gotta be really independent and clever about that, and that takes a lot of energy and work, and
on top of the telling
jokes, and
because you gotta basically be your own agent in Canada. That's another one I get asked all the time. You have a funny joke about that. I'll let you do. People ask me all the time, have you got an agent?
Yeah. Oh, and I say no, and they say, why not? And I go, because working for 15% of 2 drink tickets is a terrible career option.
Yeah, people don't know that. Like in Canada, that doesn't work. There are no agents. We don't have a population big enough to sustain a proper industry.
Well, no, we do. The problem is we definitely have the population. The problem is we're right beside America. So, like Australia, it's 2/3 of the population, and they got a great star system.
Right.
You know why? Because they're an island in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
So it's just like, you can have that. Same with Quebec. Within Canada, they have a star system because it's like, we do the Quebecois, we are French, So they could, know each other. Jean-François, be like, oh yeah, of course. But in Canada, it's just like, why aren't you, it'd be like, oh, you're funny. Why aren't you in America?
Right.
And also, that's why there's no late night TV shows, because it was like late night with Brent Butt. Who would watch that when they could just be like, no, I watch Jimmy Kimmel. I watch all the American shows. Because we're in the same time zone. We're right beside there. It's almost like we're just this suburb of America where it's like, all right, when are you going to move to the big city?
Good point.
I think that's, but it took me a while to realize that. And it's just honestly just impossible. That's why there's no star system in Canada, because we're right beside America.
What's a star system?
Well, it's where you're famous within your own country, and you don't have to leave your country to get name recognition. So when people always say this thing like, oh, Canadians, there's a lot of famous Canadians. The only reason they're famous is because they're famous in America. That's the only reason you know who they are now, is because they're famous in America.
I was thinking about that the other day. Other day being a few months ago. I remember I posed it to Facebook too. I'm like, can you guys name any famous Canadian stand-up comedians? And every single person, with the exception of maybe one or two people, but the people who named the ones who got famous in Canada are kind of inside industry or the scene, right?
Yeah.
Every name they mentioned was someone who got famous outside of Canada.
Of
They're
course.
Canadian. They were born here.
They're born here. They have a Canadian passport or whatever.
Yeah, but
They're dual citizen.
Norm Macdonald wasn't famous until he went to the States.
No, of course.
Right?
Yeah.
Harlan Williams wasn't famous until he went to the States. Russell Peters was famous because of the internet.
He was famous because of the internet.
Yeah.
Yes. So he's famous on a global level. That wasn't Canada.
Yeah.
That was, and he was like one of the first YouTube viral guys.
And people say he couldn't even do that again. It was because someone cut up his video, his Comedy Now.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't even him. It wasn't even a friend of his. It was someone else. Just they went. Oh,
it was like right place, right time. It was just this
YouTube wasn't a big deal yet.
Yeah. It was this sort of like kaleidoscope. It was this whole, right place, right time. Just bam. Because he's a funny guy, but there's a lot of comedians I think they're a lot funnier than him, as you do too, I'm sure. And it's just like, but he also niche branding. He was the only Indian. So he just, all these people were Indian related to him. And it would be like, holy shit, he's an Indian.
There's a lot of Indians in the world.
There's
Second largest population in the world,
so,
right? So,
and if there's not a ton of people, with that ancestry doing that kind of shit, it's like, holy shit, wow, look at, it's just, boom. White heterosexual straight men, like, hey man, there's tons of them.
yeah.
I mean, it's not, that's not being racist, it's just demographics, it's just...
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to stand out as a white dude.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah,
unless you have a total niche.
Yeah. And for anyone listening who's going to jump, oh, the white guys are whining. No, just it's a reality. Go to any comedy show, most of the people on there are white. So how do you stick out?
Exactly.
That's all.
I mean, it's just numbers.
Yeah, and
if anybody's all sensitive about this, be like, how? If you're sensitive, you're probably not listening anyway.
no, probably not. Not too much. I get all kinds of listeners on this though. So this is really like from what I've gathered, my amateur sample data collection is it's all kinds of, not just in Vancouver either. There's a lot of people listening to this thing, so it's we'll see. Because I don't know, one of my stories got media attention. One of my episodes. I interviewed a drug dealer.
Right.
Yeah, so that got picked up by some of the news outlets because they're like, oh well, he's an actual drug dealer, and he talked about like selling stuff that's killed people and stuff like that.
What was his rationale for doing this shit?
Just long story short, he has had a kind of a fucked up life, and he just doesn't know any other way to do it, any other way to make money, and it's
because fentanyl, like people, like I just think it automatically kills you, but apparently if you do it in doses alone, you could get high from it.
What he told me, and this was news to me, is people don't even buy heroin anymore; they buy fentanyl. They don't want heroin because fentanyl's stronger and cheaper.
Oh, really? So if you do just like the right amount, you could get this amazing high, but still live.
Yeah. If you know what you're doing,
quote unquote.
It's just another drug to get high on.
Right, I see.
It's easy to OD on.
Oh, so that's the reason.
It's typical of the 21st century if you think about it, though. Stronger, less, stronger, less. Right. Like we want it as close to.
Less weight and stronger.
Yeah,
cheaper, less weight, stronger.
The most extreme you can get, and the most extreme you can get is on the verge of death.
Yeah,
so
right.
It's just a couple little bit more, and then you're dead, right? And that's like because that's where we're going as a society. How much porn is more extreme, violence on movies is more extreme. Everything's more extreme. So of course, drugs are going to be more extreme, right?
Yeah, even seen a couple of people kissing in porn the other day. That was pretty extreme.
Gay.
Yeah.
Their mouths are assholes.
Yeah, no assholes. There you go. It's not too bad.
What's any really special moments you've ever had in comedy? Ones that stick out, like ones that were like, wow, that was really cool that I did that.
It was really cool recently. I did Brits Got Talent. I went all the way to England. I performed a lot in England, and I did Brits Got Talent, and it went great. Simon Cowell loved me. And it went fantastic. And then he's like, great, you're going to move to the next round. I'm like, great. And I was on a big high. And then I got an email saying, we sought not to use you. Fucking brutal.
Just like that?
Just like that. Other great moments. Perform Fringe festivals.
Fringe is new to you.
Fringe is new to me.
Fringe is fairly new to you.
Yeah, it's fairly new to me. Doing indoor shows, selling out a couple of those shows, great. Getting a 5-star review, that was definitely.
That was at Edmonton, right?
That was in that was in Perth, Australia.
Oh, nice.
What was really cool, recently going to Florida and opening for my good friend Daryl Lennox. Nice. That was really really cool stuff. Yeah, I don't know, real just defining moments. Putting on a show at the Real Theater a few years ago, selling that out, getting a standing ovation, that was a real high.
What was it, a comedy show?
Yeah, it was a collaborative comedy show, but I headlined it, and that was pretty amazing. Performing in, performing in London and opening up for Eddie Izzard. Nice. That was, there's a good one. And then hanging out with him a little bit after the show.
What's he like?
Really nice guy. Yeah, had a couple drinks with him, and he's, he looks like this middle-aged conservative woman. That's what he...
And he's a big deal there, right?
He's massive there.
Yeah, he's like Louis. Okay, maybe not Louis C.K.
He didn't jerk off in front of him.
Yeah, he's like Jerry Seinfeld level in England.
Yes, he's absolutely massive there. Yeah. So, nice guy. Yeah, and what's funny that I had a killer set, And I hung out with him, and I felt like on top of the world. And then the next day, I went outside of London and did the same set somewhere else and fucking died. And it was like, ugh. And what's worse than even bombing is when you travel hours out of town to die. And then having to travel all the way back, just lamenting how shit that was. That's the thing about comedy. Yeah. That's like if you bomb, in a place just a few blocks from your place, it's like, fuck, oh well.
I opened for Doug Stanhope.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah. Next day I bombed at Crafty Comedy.
Right.
Yeah.
But
someone warned me about that too. Someone messaged me, goes, "How was the open mic?" And I was like, "It was horrible." He goes, "Yeah. What I do after big shows, I don't go to open mics. I give it a couple days.
Give it a few days. Yeah. That's the thing, when you're on this euphoria and you just did this killer set and you think, all right, you know what? And then all of a sudden you just taint that wonderful taste in your mouth by eating dog shit. Just savor the taste. Maybe a little bit. Don't go to an open mic right after you open for some big celebrity in a theater. And then go to some shit open mic and perform for 8 awkward comics and then feel like, oh, I guess everything I've done in my life has led me to this moment. Just jerk off. Go home that night. He's right. Give it a few days.
Yeah, it was so funny.
Ride the high.
Yeah.
Ride the high. It's fentanyl free.
Yeah.
It's the best high ever.
So your one-man show, that I saw it, I liked it a lot, Guilt-Ridden Sociopath. Is that still the name of it?
Yeah, well, then I kind of just evolved it, and then I turned it into Man with the Broken Brain, which was different.
Sort of the same ingredients to the show, yeah.
It's stand-up comedy with a theme, where I talk about OCD, Prozac, mental health, body image issues.
How did you get into that?
I just wanted to do, basically, I wanted to do a Fringe Festival show in Australia, like 5 years ago, and I just wanted to perform at the Fringe Festival, Comedy Festival in Melbourne. And the thing about these Fringe Festivals is, you have to have a theme. So if you're doing comedy, you kind of have to have a theme. You can't just be like Byron Bertram, stand-up comic. It just, would be like, well, you have to have kind of a message, a beginning, a middle, end. Take them on a bit of a journey. So I did a bunch of existing material and wrote some other material to support it within the realm of mental health and the human condition, and
it's sort of about living with OCD for you.
Yeah,
like what your life is like with OCD.
Yeah, right? It's like OCD, just the human condition, stuff we all relate to.
Yeah, I was super impressed with it. It was one of the first one-man shows I'd ever seen. I haven't seen very many.
Oh, and you saw it at Havana, right?
Havana, yeah.
Right.
I was really impressed by it. And,
thanks, man.
Yeah, it was really cool. I was like, oh, yeah, this is cool. Because I hadn't done a Fringe yet.
Right.
And that was the year I got into the Fringe, and I'm like, I wonder what... And mainly I wanted to see yours, because I'm like, what are these fucking things like?
Yeah.
I didn't even know what I was doing. I hadn't written my show yet. And I was like, oh, okay. And it helped me go, okay, I can probably do this. I got at least a rough idea of how to do this now, right?
It gives you a template of, right, okay, yeah. I get it. Yeah.
Because when Sharon Mahoney first told me to, she was the one who was always telling me to do Fringe. I was like, sounds like a bunch of hipster fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
Because that's what my impression
Big
of
time,
it was.
Yeah.
Then I saw yours, and I was like, oh, it doesn't have to be...
It doesn't have to be hipster bullshit,
no, yeah.
But there is a disproportionate amount of hipster fucking bullshit of just, okay, a one woman's journey from my struggles to my internal soul.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, fuck off.
And that's what I figured, but then to see yours, I was like, okay, cool, I can do this.
And I think a lot more comics are kind of infiltrating the Fringe scene, and a lot of Fringe Festival snobs are kind of like, there's just too many comics coming in now. Really takes away from my interpretive dance production.
Well, the thing I liked about the Fringe doing it is I make more money right off the bat doing it. I wouldn't say it's more fun than stand-up. I like stand-up better. Definitely. I like the challenge of stand-up more. I find Fringe is, well, because I'm just telling my story, it's kind of easy, right? And
right.
I can't do it wrong. And because it's not on me to be funny all the time, I don't feel that kind of... I like walking the edge of stand-up. I like maybe not getting a laugh. I like that risk.
Right.
Whereas Fringe, it's like, if they don't laugh, they can still be inspired.
They can still be inspired.
So,
whatever. And you're like, fuck your inspiration. I want the laugh or the awkwardness.
That rape joke was hilarious. Shut the fuck, right?
Yeah.
But I'm not shitting on it, but I'm just saying I like stand-up better. And you know what was interesting is like I got in the fringes I've done every single one. I get treated kind of like a bit of a celebrity, kind of, because people come and see it and they're like, oh my god, that's such an amazing story. And when I did Fringe, I'm like, fuck, man, I could get used to this. This is kind of neat, making money, getting treated pretty cool. But I'm such a fucking idiot, a retard or whatever. It's like, no, it's not stand up.
Well, you know, you can do both.
I know.
And I think you should. It's also good to diversify and be like, you know, I can do a Fringe run.
Right.
And then even in that town, I could do some open mics in between shows and cross promote and flyer the open mics and come to my show. And
what I've decided I'm going to do is, whereas lots of comics have their corporate act. Do you do corporate comedy?
Yeah, but you know, I don't get as much as I'd like.
Yeah.
You know, I can be corporate clean and I do a decent job of it and the money's great. It's always an awkward thing, corporate comedy, because one person thinks it's a good idea to have a bunch of office workers, people, or, you know, for some business, they're having some, like, Christmas celebration. They're obligated to be there. They don't want to be there. They just have to be there because it's a work thing. And now you need to try and make these people laugh that never come to comedy, don't even give a shit about comedy, have no interest in comedy. And it really does feel like it is the definition of comedy prostitution. Now, I'm willing to do it. Hey, don't get me wrong. I'll be a whore and perform at a really unconducive place for comedy if I get paid well.
Well, and corporate does pay.
And corporate pays great.
Yeah. For the listeners, corporate comedy is generally for like office parties and work things and stuff like that. And 99.9% of the time you have to be squeaky clean. No swearing, no reference to anything sexual, nothing that could be at all offensive or controversial. And it's actually quite difficult to be funny and do that. And so anyone who can be funny without crossing any lines whatsoever is quite talented. Actually.
So I try to push the edge a bit, but you could even sell like stuff that they have no right to even just be offended at. You could feel like, ooh, where's he gonna go talking about gluten?
Right.
You know, like, oh fuck, really?
Yeah.
And now you want me to do comedy, but you don't want me to do comedy. So I don't know why you thought this was a good idea. Thank you for the $1,000.
Well, the funny thing is I found about like people who are obsessed with clean, safe comedy. And let's face it, there are some people who are really good at it.
Yeah.
Most comics aren't, though. Most comics, we it's not that we're cheating. It's just you talk about dirty or inappropriate things to a greater or lesser degree. Me, a lot more, but everyone touches on sex a little bit here.
Of course,
Or race or something. Most jokes, you're poking fun at something.
You got a bit. They got a bit of an edge to them.
Even if it's a clean joke,
there's got to be a victim.
There's a victim of some kind. Even if it's yourself.
Exactly.
Right? And so it's very hard to make a victim-free joke. I mean, I don't think you can, because if you break it down philosophically, even if it's completely clean and safe, something is you're still looking down on something to make fun
even if
of
you're
it.
making fun of how silly a sandwich looks, you're making fun of the person who made the sandwich.
That's right. And what if they're a minority?
Exactly.
Or trans?
Yeah. A tranny sandwich.
Yeah. What kind of salami is in the sandwich? Hey! Well, we've been talking for a little bit now. I think this is a pretty good place to shut her down. I guess. Anything? What's? Oh, do you have anything to say?
Oh, yeah. Check out my podcast. It's called The Dry Shave Show.
Right, I forgot.
Yes,
You're a podcaster, too.
Yes.
Dry Shave Show. I've been on it. It's pretty funny. It's controversial, but in a fun way. For some of you won't like it, but that's okay. A lot of you really will like it. Those who know me know what I like. And trust me, you'll like this podcast. That's all I'm going to say about it. You can check it out. It's kind of a political topic, plus it's funnier than this one, except when Byron's on. My podcast generally isn't that funny.
Oh, right.
Fairly serious.
I know, but I think it was engaging. There's some funny moments.
Yeah. When I started this, I was like, I don't want to do a comedy podcast. I just want to do, like, if there's jokes peppered in, that's fine, but it's not supposed to be.
It's cool. It's like, you're talking to real people and heavy shit, and sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's not. And I mean, how many fucking comedy podcasts are there?
Tons.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I don't listen to most of them.
Yeah,
so
whatever.
So I asked this question of all my guests before we shut her down. Anything, this is the average person just listening to this, right? Anything you'd like them to know? Any final thoughts for them?
Oh, besides just self-centered, check me out, like me, follow me, subscribe to me, all that shit. Yeah. Don't take life too seriously. Feelings aren't facts. Work out, listen to good music you like. to deal with your mental health and physical health. Try to laugh. Try to have a good sense of humor. Don't get offended. Don't take fucking everything to heart. And work hard and do what you love. Try not to kill yourself.
I'll do my best.
Yeah.
We've been talking to Byron Bertram. Thanks, Byron.
Thank you.
Excellent.